On the agenda tonight, we're going to be having a listen to Michael Jackson singing We Are the World over and over and over again to take a look at his vocal fingerprint. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this is going to be a fun one tonight because somebody's emailed me asking me to make this video, or at least suggesting that this would be a very good video and piece of audio to analyze, to feature the detail that we get into with the pitch monitoring software. And the footage that we've got here is rare because you've got Michael Jackson, who in terms of hitting pitches was one of the best ever, and he's singing the same thing over and over and over again. So it means that if there was an example of somebody being able to sing the same lines, this would be the video to go to, because he's not singing it 1 year and then doing it again another year. He's doing this at the same time, about 20 seconds after each other. He's just doing multiple takes of the same vocal for them then to stick that together in the studio for the final release to get that multi-track sound to the chorus. So as always, there's a link in the description below so you guys can watch this video independently if you want to. We're just going to be listening to the end section because this is the section where it's just Michael's voice. In the previous parts of the studio recording, Quincy is playing the multi-track vocal into the studio through speakers, so it's not just Michael's voice by itself, but this section is. So we can analyze it. He's going to be singing through this 6 times, so we get 6 takes of the same vocal, and this is all in relation to the video that I did recently on the Eagles and Don Henley, and using a backing track and miming to it, and the fact that the lines matched up perfectly. And then some people said, well, he's been doing it for 50 years, so he should be able to sing it exactly the same way twice. But my point in that video, and then I did a follow-up video, was to show that it is impossible for anybody to sing on these vocal lines exactly the same way twice. So that's why you know it's exactly the same audio file when that happens. So we'll jump into it, and to begin with, I'm going to leave the pitch monitoring software on screen, but it's not going to register anything just because I want to obliterate the picture a little bit so that there's no copyright issues, but so you also know which video it comes from so you can check it out. But let's have a listen.
We are the world. We are the children.
And I'm going to jump in here because to really highlight my point and maybe give people a deeper appreciation of my point, we're only going to analyze Michael Jackson singing We Are the World, and just 4 words. So this first section, let's have a listen.
We are the world.
That's all we're going to analyze. And that was take number 1, because it will show you that when you're talking about a whole song, getting the whole song to be the same, or even sections of the song to be exactly the same on the pitch monitoring software is impossible. I'm going to show you that just 4 words have a unique fingerprint. So anyway, that was take 1. Let's now move it forward to take 2.
We are the world.
That's take 2. Let's have a look at take 3. We're just listening here.
We are the world.
Because I want you to maybe distinguish whether it sounds the same each time.
We are the world.
Michael actually cut that phrase off a little bit earlier. And this is take 5.
We are the world.
So these are all separate takes that Michael's doing in the studio, one after the next, singing through the whole chorus.
We are the world.
And there we have it. 6 takes of the same thing, Michael Jackson. And I mean, yeah, we could analyze the whole thing that he's going through, but I don't need to show you what I'm talking about. So what we're going to be doing is just listening to these first 4 words.
We are the world.
To illustrate my point, I only need the first 2 words. So we're going to go with this, which is we are. Just that noise that Michael is making every time. So I've zoomed into these first 2 words, we are, and this is take number 1. And I'm going to bring in take number 2, and and I want you guys to see if you can spot any difference, because theoretically, if Michael is really, really accurate, his vocal fingerprint will be exactly the same. So I'll bring it on now, and these are perfectly matched up. You can see that the lines match up perfectly. So this is the G sharp 4, the G4, the F sharp 4. This was take 2. I'm going to get rid of take 2. And you can see how take 2 here was a little bit sharp. But also you'll see these kinds of anomalies here. And again, this is just a vocal. So in that video that we had with Don Henley's vocal, there's ambient noise in there as well. And things were still matching up. So this doesn't have the crowd noise on it, it's just Michael in the studio, but have a look at whether the lines are exactly the same, and you can see there's clearly pitch differences here, even though you can't hear them. It sounded like Michael was just singing the same thing 6 times. But anyway, so that was take number 2. Let's bring in take number 3, and again, I think you would probably agree that we're not getting a perfect replication of the line. It's pretty much all over the place. So that's take number 3. Let's do take number 4. And this one, actually, you can see that it was a little bit later. I mean, we're just talking fractions of a second here. But if I were to adjust this just across here and try and match up these lines, you know, the ascension in pitch, and if I move this up, you can see how he went sharp here a lot more than he did on the first take. Again, these kind of things, when you try and move it to match up, of course, other bits now go out because it's not the same thing. It really is like a vocal fingerprint. In order for these to look exactly the same as each other and for you to be able to drag one over the other, it has to be the same audio. So anyway, that was take 4. Let's bring in take 5. And here we've got an even more dramatic difference. Look at how sharp he was. And again, we're talking about 2 words, 2 notes. And again, look at the disparity here, pitch-wise, that we've got from the A4, this is, being a lot sharper. And let me get rid of that again. And this is now take 6, and we'll put this on. So now take 6 is a little bit closer. This peak is pretty much, I mean, spot on. But then, you know, with the slide and with this final pitch, again, you know, it's now considerably sharp to where it was previously. But this is the closest replication we can get. But there's no way that you would say that these lines can be put over one another. So if I was to move this up, or actually move it down to try and get these, whichever bit of, I'm looking at this section here. So, you know, as soon as you start aligning down here, of course, you can see that the top goes out of sync. So this is the point, that it's never going to be a perfect replication. And if I now try and line up, you know, these 2 little dips here in pitch and line them up like that, you can see that the actual lines of pitch, like the G sharp 4 and the A4 and the G4, are now totally out of sync because these notes were in different places. So when you do then kind of get the lines where they should be, that's when you then get the true representation of where the pitch actually fell. So this is what I'm saying, that it doesn't matter what we do. So if I take away number 1 and let's put together take 6 and take 3 like that, you'll see that the lines don't match up. Take 6 and take 4 don't match up. Take 6 and take 5 don't match up. What about take 5 and take 4 don't match up. Take 5 and take 2 don't match up. And you can go through every single variation of take here, 6 takes of Michael Jackson's voice, and none of them are going to match up to each other. So I mean, this might be quite a short video, but I think this is really interesting because it means that I can show you what I know, but also that the lines will never go over the top of each other unless you're doing something like showing a vocal line and then putting the same vocal over the top. So let me just give you a crude example of that. If I was to take this and now we've got the same audio file that has been played, and if I move it over the top here, that's what happens. you can see that everything aligns because it's the same audio. So when we don't have the same audio and we bring in any other take, let's take number 3 is this, you'll see this kind of thing. It'll just turn into a mess. So going back to that video that I did with the Eagles and the backing track and the audio that was being played, and Don Henley wasn't providing the live vocal because it was a pre-recorded vocal, even tiny sections matching up are something that should never happen, because the same person can't control the frequency of the vocal cord vibrations, because that's what we're looking at here. So it really does show you the detail. And again, I know that the person emailed was asking me to compare the whole chorus, but just for the point, and I think it's a more dramatic point to show that all you need is the first 2 words, and they're 2 notes that won't match up. So you can imagine that throughout the whole chorus, of course, it's all going to look like this. It's not going to match up at all. So yeah, when things do start matching up, that's when it is just the same audio file, especially when you're thinking about the timing of it as well, because this kind of thing, with the little slides that we have here, this little notch, all of these tiny bits of timing, and you can see that Michael here would have hit this top note a fraction of a second before on one take and a fraction of a second later on another take. And again, that's not something that you can necessarily control, being that accurate to a split second, to a millisecond on every single vocal take. So when you start seeing everything match up, then yeah, it's just the same audio file. That's the only way to describe it. It's great that we have this example of a great singer, really accurate pitch-wise, just singing 2 words, and every time is different. If Michael had stood in front, I mean, having 6 is great, but if Michael had stood there and sung this 300, 400, 500 times, everyone would have variations in it, because I call it a vocal fingerprint, because it really is. I mean, there's so much detail in what we're looking at here, and it doesn't matter which one, as I've already shown you. It doesn't matter. We could even bring 3 of them together, and it's just going to start like look like an absolute mess, because everyone is totally different. When you take this principle into now a live performance, and rather than focusing in front of the microphone in a studio and doing it multiple times and not being able to do it, imagine doing a performance 1 year, and then the next year you come back and your lines go over the top of each other. Yeah, there's only one explanation for that, and as I've already mentioned, it means it's the same audio file being played back. It's not a live vocal. I do find it interesting to point out the finer details, but also to give you a deeper appreciation of the detail that I'm going into with the vocal analysis videos on the channel. It's also good to answer a few of the comments from people that might say that they are singers and they're in bands and they perform live all the time, and every time they perform they nail their vocal because it's just muscle memory and they've been doing it so long. If they were to look at their vocal from any show and then compare it to another show in this kind of detail, they would see that they're not nailing their vocal over the top. They're not getting the same vocal cord vibration night after night after night after night, not the same frequency. I mean, that's the level that we're looking at here, the kind of level of detail. So yeah, it sounds like you're singing it the same way every time, and the people that are saying these things are judging it with their ears, whereas we're looking at detail here that you can't hear. We're looking at literally the vocal cords vibrating. So if I were to ask one of the singers, how many times did your vocal cords vibrate during that performance, they wouldn't be able to give you an answer, because you're not conscious of pitch and vocal cord vibrations on this level. You're only aware of the limitations of our ears being able to hear the note that you think you're getting the same every time, but it's not. There are ever so slight, subtle variations in how your vocal cords are producing that sound, but also the pitch of that sound. And as you can see here, yeah, Michael is hitting a different pitch every time, even though he's just trying to hit 2 notes. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Keep those suggestions and requests coming for future analysis videos in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!